Spilled Ink. Welcome to another episode of Spilled Ink. I am joined by Eastlake head basketball coach Nick Crossan. Really appreciate Nick he actually reached out via email and we've been chatting and super excited to welcome him as a guest today. Thanks for joining me, Nick.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I look forward to sharing a little bit about our program and what we're doing over at Eastlake.
Absolutely. And before we get into what you're doing now, let's jump in the time machine a little bit and
Yeah.
tell me about when you were at Skyline. It was a few years after I was covering preps at the Times. What was your experience like there, being the school's all-time leading scorer, et cetera?
I think my experience is different from a lot of players because I grew up in a unique background. I actually moved over to the East Side when I was in fourth grade. Parents were split. We kind of came from a rough neighborhood growing up in Kent. So basketball was a different outlet for me than I think everybody else on the plateau. But I wouldn't say, I think from a sports perspective, basketball I just took more seriously than everybody else. Now we had really good athletes, football players, baseball players, and they took those sports seriously. So I kind of felt like basketball, that was my outlet and that was my way to kind of get where I needed to go. My mother always told me that, college is something she wants me to do, but I can't pay for it. So you're going to have to find a way to get it done on your own. And so that was a driving tool for me to be able to go out there and hopefully, get an athletic scholarship. But then as a young kid, you forget the most important part, the academic piece of it. So
Mhm.
I didn't really have that part down, which was a blessing to be at Skyline because the teachers there were absolutely incredible. They were always willing to help. I had so much help that I didn't really take advantage of it like I should have as a young kid. Looking back now, I wish I could have took more advantage of it because they were so willing to help. And there's a community of people that put your arms around you, and they helped me a lot, not only on the court but off the court. So that experience in itself was unique for me. It was amazing. It definitely had challenges. I'd say more self-inflicted challenges than anything else. But yeah, my overall experience there was great. Like I said, there's just different things that I was battling that I don't think anyone else was, but they probably were. I was just a little more nervous and more to myself about
Mhm.
speaking about what's really going on.
I can totally
You
see that.
totally see that.
Oh, I was getting a little feedback. I can totally see that at that school, having spent a lot of time there, and especially if you're a basketball player, right? I mean, the football team was always great, and it always did often seem that it was football players playing basketball. So to be a committed basketball player, especially someone so driven to have that be your vehicle to get to college, could in some ways could be a lonely experience.
It was definitely lonely from the perspective of an athlete that's an ultimate competitor. But I think the fun part for me was to see friends that I had that did play basketball. And the funny part is a lot of them didn't even play through high school. I think they played maybe till their freshman year, then they went about going about their sport they should prioritize. And to me, I was kind of like, whoa. I understood it, but I also kind of was like, I kind of was lost because I was like, oh shoot, here we go. Like all my guys that we grew up playing with now are going off to their sports, but it was fun to watch them be such a professional in what they do and watch them get what they got because they all did. I mean, a lot of our football program was top notch for a long time, and all those guys moved to play Division I football, and they hit their goal. Which I mean, at the end of the day, that's really all you can ask for to your friends to go do about that. But it was lonely. It
Mhm.
definitely was. I felt like, oh boy, here I am by myself. I have a bunch of teammates that are great teammates, but I'm not quite sure if winning is as important as it is for me than it is for them.
Mhm. And then after you graduate from Skyline, we now have also the connection of Bakersfield. It's a lovely scenic Bakersfield, California. Actually, I really did like it there. The sports are great. Bakersfield College was really, I got to cover them for a little while. In fact, funny story, Pete Rose's son played for, I can't remember what JUCO it was down there, and he had been playing JUCO basketball for like 100 years. And so Pete Rose was at one of those games where it was one of these like surreal moments where what is even happening? And then another time I was on that court and Robert Swift, I don't know if you remember him from the
Absolutely.
Sonics, right?
Yeah.
He was doing a camp there. It was like early on in his
Yeah.
career. And he had just come back from, I don't know if it was his first or second year, but he'd just come home and had all these tattoos and like crazy hair. And people in Bakersfield did not know what to do with that. So curious about what your experience was. Well, and then also sort of the unfortunate part of having to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll kind of rewind a little bit. So I was born with hip dysplasia, so I really wasn't supposed to be an athlete as high as level as I would have been, just because of my hips. So they told me like you can play, but good luck, pretty much is what it was. You're kind of on your own. This will stop at some point in your life. So I said, okay, this is the only way I'm getting to college, so I'm going to go for it. I ended up at Bakersfield College, and I ended up there because I was supposed to go to Western Washington out of high school. I did not have the grades to go there. So their coach was really good friends with Coach Hughes, Bakersfield College, who is a good friend today. I love him to death. He changed my life big time, big, big, big time. So Western said you need to go there for a couple of years, and we'll pick you up. And so I
Mhm.
said, okay, great. This is awesome. And in the background, none of these coaches or anything know that about my hips. This is something I kind of knew about, but I'm obviously not going to speak about it just because any opportunity is going to go down the drain. So I left that in the back of my mind. So we go to Bakersfield for a year. I absolutely loved it. It was life changing. I think junior college is not for everybody, but I think it's for kids that it is for people that love the game and just want another opportunity to either just keep playing or to be able to maybe move on to the next level if it's there. It's a grind. It's completely different. I was living in an apartment with three other guys, and it was not pretty. I mean, we're living in a very low income apartment. We got cockroaches living in our apartments day in and day out. My wife now, who I met actually when I was 15, she came down after the first semester, and so I kind of was lucky to get away from that apartment life, and we got an apartment together. But it was life changing. I absolutely loved it. It made me grow up really, really, really fast.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm guessing you were probably in East Bakersfield.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly. Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what. But you know, it was very cool. Like I said, growing up, I was able to get both sides of the world. So what I mean by that is like I didn't grow up with a lot of things given, or even a lot of things in general. But when my parents did split, my dad lived in rough neighborhood in Kent, and my mom she got an opportunity with her. She was a plumber over 35 years with the county. So she got continued to get better and better in her role with her. So she got more money. So we got to be able to move to the east side. But it was unique because on weekends I'd go to my dad's house and I see a completely different world than I would see on the east side. So I was able to kind of see life from two different lenses. And it's helped me today be the person I am, just to see kind of things from kind of where people are. So that transition wasn't hard for me, to be able to go through that and go through and communicate. And it's a different world. It's just a completely different world. And if you're not used to it, it can catch you big time. So
Mhm.
that part was also fun, but we definitely had challenges for sure.
That's sort of what it's like, right? You either when you go to a place like that, you sink or swim,
Yep.
and regardless of how you do on the court, you if you can, stomach the cockroaches and the rough parts, then there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that pot
Yeah,
of gold as success in life.
absolutely. No, and that's it was, and it's always a little better when you have teammates you're with. You
Mhm.
see these guys every day, and every night, and you fight with each other physically, everything, and you're doing everything together, but it creates a unique bond that you just you just can't get. So that was one of the things that I learned a lot from, besides my actual coach, who was phenomenal. I mean, his accountability he held for me was a standard that I never had, as growing up as a young kid, or even in high school. So that was a huge change in a great way for me because, like I said, he just made me grow up fast, and
Mhm.
I wasn't ready for it, but in the 6 months, 7 months I was there, I was definitely ready for it when I was done.
Mhm. And and just in you talking about your mom, I can hear the respect that you have for the work that she put in to get where she was, and then to have her get sick had to be that had to be a tough choice, right? You're starting to figure things out basketball wise, and then you need to be here.
Yeah, my mother's my hero. Like, there's just no question. She's raised four kids by herself. I have two older brothers and an older sister. They have different dads than I do, but she is just the rock of our family. She's the rock of how we've been raised. Now, having four kids myself, I have no idea how she did it by herself. I have no clue. She's a saint. She really is. She just did things and she went about her business. And I know she carried a lot of stress on her shoulders. And you wouldn't tell though. She always, her ability to smile just like brighten up our day and our lives. And but she also had another side to her that was you didn't really want to see if she's pissed off. So it was a great way to be raised. And I loved it. And so yeah, she unfortunately she got cancer in her arm. I don't remember exactly what type it was. It's been on quite some time, but um, it scared the crap out of us. I mean, that word is the worst word that you want to hear. So when I heard that, my wife and I were looked at each other and said, we got to go home. And so I went home, lived with her. She went through chemo and all that. She beat it over the last, a couple years, but it was a sacrifice I didn't have to think about, because I knew in the back of my mind where I was basketball wise, and I knew how important my mom was, and so that was like there's a line in the sand that I'm never gonna cross, and that one
Mhm.
was it. I'm not gonna give up my life of basketball to maybe miss opportunities to be there for my mom, when at the end of the day, the ball will stop bouncing at some point.
Mhm.
And the last thing when I heard cancer, you think death. That's just me. That was my anxiety coming through. Like, oh my God, it's how much longer does she have? Everything goes through your mind, and
Mhm.
so I think that's where it was a no-brainer to be able to go home.
Mhm. And then you come back, and the silver lining is that she does beat the cancer, but that also is sort of the time when your career ends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was so at that time. I went to Bellevue College for Jeremy Eggers, who is another person that had been in my life for a long time. He was my AAU coach for Friends of Hoop growing up. He coached me in high school for Friends of Hoop. So he knew a little bit of the situation, and he was like, "Hey, just come play for us. We need you. We'll take you." So I was like, "Awesome." So I went there for, I want to say, gosh, maybe a month or two, and then we'll be doing our fall stuff. And he gets a call from Northwest, and he's like, "Hey, they said they want you. They offer you a full ride." And kind of that surreal moment came through for me. Was like, "Oh my God, I got my full ride. I did it. I don't have to pay for school. This is great. I don't care about the level." Because as a young high school kid, you think, I'm Division One. I'm going Division One no matter what. And then humble of life hits you, and you go, "Oh wow, you know what? This is a opportunity for me to go to school, get it paid for. Sign me up. I'm in. I go." So I go to Northwest right over here in Kirkland, for well, again another 6 months, and then we just got done with a road trip over in California. We just beat Cal State Maritime. Time they were a top 25 team in NAI. We beat them on the road, and we had a great game, but I couldn't feel my legs. My hips were throbbing. Every time I would play, I would get rashes through my skin. It was just everything would come up through it because of arthritis, and then it ended up kind of through psoriasis, and I would be itching, and so it was enough. So I told my wife. I actually had to sit down with her when I got back. I said, "Look, I'm prepared for this, but I'm not prepared really. I'm trying to like trick myself that I think this is it. I'm gonna have to stop playing and kind of go about life." And it was really hard for me to accept it, even though I knew at some point it was going to come to an end. Um, I am a man of God, so being at Northwest was unique because my path of God is not the like Bible thumping type.
Hmm.
And being at Northwest, it was unique because I got to go there, be with Christ, be with basketball, school, and then the teammates I had were the best teammates I've ever played with as a group of guys.
Hmm.
And so the way it closed was amazing because I had to go present to the team and say, look, here's my situation. I got to stop playing. Here's what it is. It was really hard for me, but the God moment was they all just surrounded me in prayer and didn't even bat an eye about it. There was no questions asked. There was nothing. It was more of like, how do we surround you with love? As I know this is a tough time. So that part right there, I guess you could say the closure of it was it was the best I could. I didn't even imagine closure being like that because you
Hmm.
think, well, I'm gonna play all 4 years and that's the case. So um, that type of closure was a very unique and special thing that really like I will never forget for the rest of my life.
Hmm. And in a lot of ways, hearing you tell this story leads me to see that it makes complete sense that you do what you do now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. A little bit of where that transitioned. My in-laws started a AAU club called EBC, and I was super lost. I had no idea what I wanted to do, like absolutely zero. So I just went right into coaching because it was the easiest thing for me to get into. It kept me close to the game that I love. I've done my whole life. But once I started coaching and training, I felt absolutely in love with it because kind of like we are talking about, I think basketball, obviously I'm biased because I'm a basketball guy. Sports in general, basketball really teaches so many different things than just putting a ball in the hoop. And that's where I was like my kind of aha moment of like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. Because of life and what I've been through as an athlete and what kind of life is just not even just an athlete, just my life in general. Being able to go back and kind of unpeel the onion on what's happened has made me a way better father, husband, coach, business owner in so many ways just because of a ball. And I think it's perspective, right? It's like anything you do in life. It's all about the outcome and what you look at it as. I think with basketball in today's era, I feel bad for kids because it's not like when we grew up, there's a lot of social media and a lot of extra pressure on kids.
Hmm.
Not only really just basketball wise, academic wise, there's just a lot of pressure on kids. So I think that's where I was like, okay, how do we find a way to get to kids where they kind of can unplug and they can kind of learn different things that, I mean, I think they should be learning in school, but some things that they can take with them and kind of help them become a better version of themselves that they don't even like. The goal is like they're not going to understand it right now. They're just not. Some of them might, but it's when they get to be in their 20s, they go, oh, that's what, coach is talking about or the program was talking about. So, yeah, it's been a unique, special ride so far.
Hmm. And then when did you come up with the idea for life after basketball? Like, how, is that? I mean, I see why you would get that, but when did it all kind of like when did the light bulb go off?
Yeah. So a huge mentor of mine is Buzz Williams. He's the Texas A&M head men's basketball coach. I met Buzz at a coach's clinic probably 10 years from now. And I saw him speak. And the first thing, and I'll never forget it, because his like portion was ball screen coverage and all that. And it was like an hour segment. And I fell in love with him because the moment he did, he just rolled out a whiteboard and he just said, "If you guys really think I'm going to talk about ball screen coverage for an hour, you got to be out of your mind." And so I was like, "Ooh, this guy's got my attention. Like what?" And he's like, "We're going to talk about the three dysfunctions of your brain, which is anxiety, depression, and addiction." And I was like, "Ooh, this guy's really got me." Like, because he completely didn't talk about basketball for like at least 30 minutes. And he just started diving into us. And I thought, you know what, this is a really unique way to be as a leader. And for a basketball coach, it's completely different than kind of what your norm is. So that immediately I fell in love with. He does a lot of stuff like this. I pretty much have took what he's done and just kind of spun it to my own thing. And then I came up with lab because it was just life after basketball was something I thought, that's a perfect way to go about it. And I think the segment of it is the best thing that we can do. Is as a coach, I think our job is to coach our basketball teams. And like I said, the basketball will lead to a lot of things, but we dedicate 45 minutes a week to talk about lab, which is a ton of fun. It's completely different than any other program. I don't think any program dedicates a session of time for that stuff. And it's in a classroom setting, and our kids have notebooks. They're involved. It's the why for sure, and why I coach for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, and that I love to hear that. I actually just did an episode a couple weeks ago on mental health and kids, and I shared a personal basketball story. And I think that's the one thing that I love to hear from coaches now is the way that they're loving on kids and building them up. And the more that you invest into the human, the better they're going to play.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you hit it right there on the head. I think that's as I step away from basketball as a player, you do all that diving into what would you do better? What things that you took away that were awesome? I'm a huge sponge and learner when it comes to really any aspects of life. So I love learning from other people. I've learned a ton from so many people in my life that where I can kind of just continue to build relationships and uniquely bring them along and help them impact the next generation of leaders, which is, these high school kids that we step in front of, for 6 days a week, which is to me, taking a high school job, it was what do we do differently? Because basketball is ball. I'm talking about basketball for 6 days a week. As I'm an athlete, it can get a little bit repetitive and you can clock out pretty quickly because depending on how your season going. But it really doesn't matter because ball is ball and it's going to be a little bit repetitive and you're going to be like, okay, coach, I've heard this so much. You just kind of need a debrief or something that's completely different to kind of grasp their attention or make them forget about all the extra stuff that they have going on in their lives. Like we talked about and hit on, like the social media. Then a lot of kids at Eastlake are AP kids. These kids are intelligent, and that was the fun part is seeing how intelligent these young kids are. It's incredible to listen to them speak and hear them speak. They are like they're not kids; they're young adults. They are light years ahead of where I was. That's for sure.
Mhm.
So their maturity level is something that I get to see as a coach, which is really fun to see because you just get to see them grow that maturity. And then, I mean, I'm very confident they are going to be very successful people, and which is that's all you want at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a second. And I'm sure you've seen all the signs, on the road going from Skyline to Eastside Catholic to Eastlake about the bond that they're talking about passing in Issaquah.
Yeah,
So I think Eastlake's actually not in the same school district. And when I see these arguments about, we need the signs are very well done, although I think misguided. And we don't need to invest more in schools and not even thinking about the fact that, the schools are overcrowded. When students do well, neighborhoods are safer, all of these things. And I just want to like go around to these people one by one and say, when you invest in these kids, good things happen in our world, and especially
Yes.
now, it's so important.
Yes, I'm on. Yeah, put me on that. If you anything you're doing with it, I'm on it because I 100% agree. I don't think you can do enough investing in kids. Because like you said, that's our next generation of leaders, and I mean, I want my own personal kids to be way better than me. So I think the more we can pour into them, they're gonna be better than you, which is what I mean. That's what I want. So I think that's the fun part of life is pouring into kids and watching them kind of, just slowly. I call it like no different than planting a seed. You're just kind of slowly watering it and watch them grow, and end up becoming a beautiful person.
Mhm. And to transition a little bit, you met your wife when you were 15. How do you build a relationship that stays solid, over that much time?
Yeah, it's like sports. It's kind of what you put into it. And it wasn't, it's funny because I tell, like when I first introduced myself to Eastlake, I will tell parents that my wife is from Eastlake and we met when we were 15, and it's nothing that I ever going to tell people like if they have a girlfriend right now, like, okay, that's your one. That
Mhm.
like, for me, it just worked out. Really, it really did. I met her the next couple days. I told my mother, like, I found the woman of my life. And she did what probably I would do as a parent. I'd be like, what are you talking about? You're 15 years old. You have no clue. But it worked out. She is made me the man that I am. She's incredible, incredible mom, incredible leader. She has a heart of gold. It's almost too big. She will continue to just pour out for people and her family, in our communities. Anything that has to do with people and helping, she is all for. And it's just a unique thing. I'm super blessed to be able to even say that um, I got married to my high school sweetheart. It's a rare thing, and I think it's kind of the rarity of my own personal life. So it's a cool thing.
Mhm. That's awesome. Yeah. That's super. I think that's the thing, right? Like we don't know when we're gonna meet our people, but hopefully we do. And when we do, pour into it, right?
Yeah.
And so when this airs, this will probably air on Sunday, is probably when I'll release it. And so you guys have potentially two games before that'll happen. So, for anyone who's listening this far, hopefully I will get to see Eastlake play on Saturday. That's my goal, to get out to Mount Si. I appreciate you taking the time today and sharing your story, and super happy that we connected, and looking forward to seeing how Eastlake basketball grows.
No, thank you. No, it's been fun to share a little bit about what we're doing over at Eastlake and kind of trying to shift the culture of what it was. Like I said, growing up, Eastlake was a super good basketball school, and it's took a huge dip, especially over the last 10 years. I don't know who knows what it is. So it's now being, 10 toes deep right in it every single day. It's been fun to see the growth of what we're doing. And, with lab, and we do Little Wolves too, that we call it. It's kindergarten through third graders. We do it on Saturdays. Our high school kids go in there and run it. So it's just been fun to kind of see the other side of basketball,
Mhm.
and watch that grow. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to grow a community, and it's just a ball that gets to bring everybody together. So to win a state championship is always the end goal, but at the end of the day, if we don't win a state championship in at any point, um, those go away. Those memories go away, but the memories of with your teammates and what you learn and those things, that never goes away. So that's our driving point. Yeah, we want to win. There's no question, but we want our kids to have the best experience.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Well, again, I certainly appreciate you joining me and taking the time today, and we'll see you soon.
All right, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.